Hello everyone, welcome to Deep Developer YouTube channel. So if you are working on microservices or if your application is calling some other different services, then this video is definitely for you. So because in Spring Boot 4, the way we write like different service to service communication has already been changed. So today we will be going to talk about HTTP interface, a features that removes a lot of boilerplate code that we were writing again and again in the Spring applications. So we will not just talk about the theory. So we will be building a real to-do demo applications. Then we will compare this old way of writing the code. Then we will compare the new way of writing the code, and you will clearly see why this features is best for the uh, service to service communications in the Spring Boot. So let's get started with the video. So before going at the video, let me explain you what you will be going to learn from this video. So you will be learning how to migrate from REST templates to REST client and how to create a declarative HTTP interface without writing like implementation code. Then we will be using import HTTP service that will replace the manual proxy factory configurations. Then we'll be building a crude Todo APIs with a small code changes, and we'll be doing some advanced configuration on grouping and customizing multiple HTTP service. Then at the end we will discuss some of the standard things we should follow. Let's get started with the video. So before going ahead with the video, I request to please subscribe to the channel where I make videos on Java, Spring Boot, microservices, REST API, interview questions. And if you know this is the fourth video of Spring Boot 4 new features tutorial series. So I will suggest to watch other three videos also. The link on the descriptions where I mentions like Spring Boot 4 features, Spring Framework 7 features, and on the third video I explain the modularization concept. So let's get started with the video. So let's go to start spring.start.io and create a new project. So we are in spring.start.io. So we'll be using Java language Maven 4.0.1. Then mention some of the group ID and artifact ID. Then we'll be using jar properties 25, and the dependency wise we'll be using the web dependency, and to make like service to service communications, then we'll be using REST client, or yeah, this HTTP client. Now export it, download it, and export it into the IntelliJ. So I already exported into the IntelliJ. So if you see, this structure has been imported, and here only this two dependency, one is REST client and one is the Spring Web. So in the Spring Boot 4, this is already modularization already being configured. So instead it is starter web MVC. So previously we used to have a REST template or the web client for service to service communications. So let me know in the comment sections like how you are configuring these REST templates or the web client. So every time you need to build the request, set the header, then handle the responses, this handle the error. It is a repetition of the task. So in the real enterprise project, we easily end up with too much boilerplate code, hard to test, and there is a tight coupling between the services. So in this Spring Boot 4, we have HTTP service configuration is a little bit improved, where we will be using HTTP interface, and we will be using import HTTP service, and we will provide the service class, and everything will be configured automatically. We don't need to create things manually. So let me go to the code and create one To-Do API. So if you see, we have already one this JSON placeholder. So I will be consuming this API. So mainly we will be communicating on this service. You can think it as a third-party API. So here we have one To-Do service. So we can think it this To-Do service will be consuming. It has like ID, title, and completed status. So if you scroll a little bit down, so like this post, to do has also to do slash one, to do slash to do. We can put one to do, then we can like delete. So those kind of all the operation it already have. So I'll just open it for our reference purpose. So if we see, we have this object. So first we need to create one uh, to do objects, or call the entity objects. So to do class is I have created one to do record, so it is already been created, ID, user ID, title, and completed. So let me now create one like traditional way how we are doing using so in the Spring Framework 6, we usually use this HTTP exchange, and we are defining in the client side, we are actually generated this proxy. So we will initialize this HTTP client, then we create the factory for the client proxy, then we create the proxy. So it is a traditional way. So let me create one traditional way so that it will be easier for you to understands how it differentiate from the Spring Boot 4. And then later on I will remove that configuration, then I will be using this declarative registration of the bins. So in the same Spring Framework 7, so I will be using this import HTTP service. So let me create that first. So first let's look at the traditional approach to create this REST client. So what we have seen this in this Spring Boot 3, or the before these three versions, we need to create the builder of this REST client, and for every APIs, or the for every HTTP calls, we need to configure like the get, URI, retrieve, then the body, and for the like for the different methods like get method, post method, then we are configuring. So if we see this, there is lot of code repetitions, and if we see in this Spring Boot 3 configuration class I have created, so we need to create this configuration, need to create the beans, and you need to create the factory for the client proxy. So here we are creating this factory for the JSON placeholder, the API that will be consuming, and this create a client proxy. So there is a lot more configuration, and there's a repetitions of the code is there. So means so everywhere we are configuring this REST client, but it is fine. But if we work in a microservice based application where there are lot of APIs are there, so on that kind of configuration, little bit hectic tasks, and there is a lot of boilerplate code will be there. So so this is like a huge things to test also. So in this HTTP client in the Spring Boot 4, this everything got resolved. So let me introduce you this HTTP interface. So instead of writing like a huge implementation code as I showed earlier, we just need to write an interface. So and all this implementation will be automatically come like we did in this Spring Data JPA. So JPA repository is there, the save method, find by ID method. These are like we are using from the interface. So here we are using just we mentioned this API name, and all these method will be automatically implemented. So we no need to do any implementation. This is get exchange, post exchange, and put exchange. So if we see these configurations, now let's go to this configurations. So in this configuration, so we just um, need to mention this service class. So to do service dot class. So here we are need to create one beans, and this section is for like if you have multiple groups like JSON placeholder, and if you have another import HTTP service with some other group and some other type. So on that case you need to you can like filter by name, and then you can create the bins correspondingly. So only things that this import HTTP service, these things just we need to make the changes. If we see this official documentation, so you can use it like a group, and this is different types of the service class. So we have only used one service, so there is a group and base package, else you can mention the base package also. So and this only this implementation you need to give for only one time. And this for once the HTTP service group has been declared, then what remains is to configure the HTTP client for the each group. So here we are configuring the HTTP client for the GitHub group, for the Stack Overflow group. So doing this, we are actually not implementing any extra code, and there is no proxy codes, no factory classes are there, which we have done mostly on this uh, on the traditional way of configuration, which is in the Spring Boot 3. So mainly this we need to use this import HTTP service, and doing that everything will be works automatically. You no need to have this any implementations. Now if you see this to do controller here, only this request mapping and with this kind of we are creating this service, and different APIs we have created. So one is the get all method, and one is the get, and one is the post, put, and the delete. So if we see this how the flow is going on, so if you click on to do service, so to do service, yeah, the API name is defined, and in the configurations, so to do service where it is used, if you click right click on it, so if we see this to do class, here it is being used. So only this class, this then service is then exchange with this particular configuration, and then the client will be created, and the communications will be established, and we will get the results. So let's run the applications and test each and API one by one. If we see this application got started in port 8080, so let's open this to do controller and test every API one by one. So first one is this API slash v1 slash to do's, and first is the get method. So let's go to this Postman and API slash v1 slash to do. Then it is a like get method. Just click on the send. So when you click on the send, so if we see go to this websites, all these records will be getting as a response. So doing that, we are calling this service to service communication from our service. We are getting the details from this JSON placeholder service that are done by the HTTP exchange. So if we see, we have got all these details. Now next API is then get mapping by ID. So let's go to this again Postman. Then so slash ID we have put as 1. So if you again go to back, so for this one we have, for this ID 1 we have these records. So we will be getting this record as a response. So we got these records. Now next is like post method. So in the post method we will be adding one records, and we will be inserting that records. So for example, I have put like user ID 10 and title. I have mentioned my title and completed as in false. So if I click on the send, so it will be returning one response with a new record. So total is 200 responses there. 200 total records are there. Now it is a new record which is 201. Now if we want to update our records, so on that we have one put methods. So put methods with we will be passing the ID. So whatever it is there, I want to change it. So for example, I have changes to this. Then we'll be getting the put records. Similarly, we have also delete records. So if we want to delete any particular records, so for example, we want to delete the record 2. So click on send. Then it will be giving this 200 OK status. So we have able to delete. So like this way we are able to do the service to service communication you face any issue while working in this project, you can comment down on the comment sections. So in the next video, I will be explaining you the API versionings that in Spring Boot 4. So thank you for watching the video.